spice, and everything nice.
Hello, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be converging on behalf of the particular neurocircuitry of emotions. But most importantly, the prerequisite needed in order to begin the actual topic of today is to inform you as of the meaning of both neurocircuitry as well as emotion. Neurocircuitry refers to the various ways in which neural regions within the brain are vigorously interconnected to one another and how the brain essentially undergoes dynamical changes as a result of this. On a spiritual basis, I would presume that an emotion is nothing more than simply just energy in motion, but on a more scientific or empirical basis, I would regard it as an internal response to external stimuli. Think of it like this. The majority of the emotions that you feel can often be attributed to some sort of physiological response transpiring within your body. For instance, you would typically recall that during times of apprehension, your respiration increases, your pupils dilate, your production of saliva is inhibited, your heart rate increases, your palms become sweaty, your digestion slows, and this is all a result of your body secreting the hormone adrenaline amongst your bloodstream, and which then activates your sympathetic nervous system in tandem. When you truly come to think about it, what was it that caused this perceived alarm within your body to go off, then contributing to the change within the majority of your body's internal factors? It can ultimately be attributed to some sort of external event, something that you were able to perceive with either of your five senses externally, then sent various messages to your brain to be interpreted, ultimately contributing to whatever physiological arousal that may occur among you. A prime example of this phenomenon would go a little something like this. You decide to go hiking in a forest with your best friend and everything has been going totally great so far. You're soaking up all that is around you, appreciating the beauty of Mother Nature when all of a sudden something seems off. You can't quite put your finger upon it, but you can feel some sort of energetic shift in your surroundings that causes you to become more conscious. You then hear the sound of footsteps as something or someone other than your best friend is attempting to come towards you. Somehow, you just know that the intent of this particular entity isn't unadulterated. The footsteps begin to sound closer and closer as they diverge more toward your direction quickly. Your ears pick up this information, the sound of the footsteps that is, and which is then sent to your cerebral cortex through your auditory nerve to be interpreted as either beneficial, extraneous, or maladaptive. Once your brain decides that the information is beneficial, regardless of how exactly, your brain will then send this information on to various centers of the brain in order to enable the activation of fight or flight system. This system deals with instances of perceived danger in which your sympathetic nervous system is activated, making you feel inclined to either stand your ground and fight the threat or run from it. So ultimately, an external event somehow contributed to the physiological response you felt as a result of the predicament. Along with the physiological response, your body will also elicit a chemical release amongst you in the process. This chemical release that I'm speaking of will derive from the endogenous chemical messengers within the brain called neurotransmitters, in which affect the way we feel, aka our emotions, within some manner. In order to fully understand the process as to how neurotransmitters work, we're going to have to learn not only the parts of a neuron, but how the phenomena operates in and of itself. A neuron is essentially nothing more than just a cell within the brain, a brain cell. A neuron consists of dendrites, an axon, as well as an axon terminal with both terminal branches and buttons. The dendrites of a neuron look sort of similar to the branches of a tree and are used to receive information from precedent neurons, or sending neurons, as they are typically lined up against one another consecutively to help with the transportation of the chemical information. Next comes the axon, which is primarily utilized to help transport electrical charges called action potentials all the way to the axon terminal, where it can then revert back to its chemical nature, aka neurotransmitters, and be released within the synapse, in which is the tiny space between both a sending neuron and a receiving neuron. Next is the axon terminal, in which is where these neurotransmitters are stored. For specificity, they are actually stored within the terminal buttons of the axon terminal, in which are released into the synapse subsequent to the firing of an action potential. Once these chemical messengers are released into the synapse, they can either be reabsorbed by the sending neuron or they can remain within the vicinity for a very selective interval of time. So now that you know exactly how this process works, I can begin to inform you of neurotransmitters within relation to emotions. Neurotransmitters are often referred to as messengers because they carry intrinsic information along with them among its duration within a neuron, just as every aspect of your body carries very specific information. This chemical information essentially contributes to whatever perceived emotion it is that you're feeling and can initially help to regulate various bodily functions. Think of it within terms of computer science. Specific neurotransmitters can essentially code for, as well as help to execute various functions. Neurotransmitters of differing types can aid within heart rate, sleep cycles, breathing, mood, digestion, appetite, as well as muscle movements. Neurotransmitters are even utilized within early human development, in which delineates the vast range of functions that they are able to encompass. There are also many differing types of neurotransmitters, including the most prominent ones, dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine is a chemical messenger that is derived from the substantia nigra, in which is vital to movement and reward functions, and is responsible for your motor movement as well as your brain's reward/pleasure system. Among the reward pathway, dopamine is released into the nucleus accumbens and the prefrontal cortex. The chemical messenger additionally deals with the modulation of behavior and cognition, including sleep/dreaming, attention, working memory, motivation, as well as learning. Now you may be wondering, how exactly does this deal with emotions? Well, remember when I said that dopamine deals with your brain's pleasure/reward system? Well, it does. And it does so by helping us feel pleasure through actions that the brain perceives as rewarding. For instance, when eating a perceived comfort food, mine being grilled cheese, the neurotransmitter dopamine will contribute to the overall pleasurable sentiment, helping strengthen the neural connection in relation to that action so that you will be motivated to execute the same action again to eventually elicit that same response again in the future. The more you partake within an action, the stronger the neural connection for it becomes, and the more your brain will become addicted to the feeling of pleasure it induces, essentially denoting to the perpetual firing of dopamine within your cerebral cortex. Now you may be wondering, what exactly is a neural connection and how can it be strengthened to encourage the emergence of certain behaviors? Well, it was precedingly formulated that neurons are placed consecutively amongst each other with the intent of transporting intrinsic information, essentially coding for certain functions. With this being said, there lies both a sending neuron as well as a receiving neuron when it comes to conveying information between two or more neurons. What is regarded as an actual connection amongst these particular cells is initially achieved when a sending neuron releases an action potential, then activating the receiving neuron in tandem with the intention of enabling it to fire an additional action potential as well. The more this process occurs, the stronger the neural connection between the two neurons, or possibly even more, becomes. This enables your body to grow accustomed to the particular neural region within your brain perpetually becoming activated, which creates that feeling of both compulsion and dependency, somewhat analogous to addiction. I could talk about this magical messenger all day, but for the sake of this video, I will have to cut it short and move on to our next popular chemical messenger, often known by many. As I'm sure you've all heard of, the next messenger is serotonin. Psychedelic drugs are essentially classified as agonists, in which are drugs that mimic the effects of neurotransmitters. The neurotransmitter serotonin, in order to help reduce the quantity of glucose within the brain that is needed for it to switch between disparate activity states, essentially. But this notion is besides the point. The real topics are the questions: what exactly does serotonin do, and what can the messenger be attributed to? What makes it so special to the point where nearly the majority of psychedelic drugs mimic its effects with the intent of achieving altered states of consciousness? Those are all great questions, and I just so happen to have the answers to the majority of them in which you're yearning for. Serotonin too aids your body within sending messages between neurons that affect your mood, emotions, bone health, sexual health, as well as digestion. It is often thought to be a sort of mood stabilizer, or your body's feel-good chemical, essentially, that can be utilized to help regulate negative emotions such as anxiety. It can also help you experience temporary happiness, and it can even heal physical wounds. It pretty much works within the same manner as dopamine with regard to sending information throughout the body, entailing its primary functions. So basically, the firing of neurotransmitters do somewhat contribute to the emotions that you may feel, but they don't fully encompass the vast spectrum that is your emotions. We know that they interact with other receptors amidst both your brain and body to regulate a wide variety of processes, especially including mood regulation/emotions. But what other factors besides them could also contribute to the eminence of an emotion, this intangible concept that we can't physically grasp but can definitely feel? I shall now introduce you to another type of messenger commonly referred to as hormones. Hormones are very similar to neurotransmitters, other than the fact that they are within the endocrine system and are secreted into your bloodstream in order to send information to your various glands. They are biologically active substances that help to regulate metabolism and additional physiological processes such as growth, development, immune defense, reproduction, behavior, and even adaptation to the conditions of existence. These messages they send are often secreted in accordance with emotionally evocative circumstances. For instance, hormonal imbalances from a strenuous or difficult experience can cause the production of cortisol within the body and can lead to the evident effects of stress. Various hormonal imbalances can also cause additional emotions such as anxiety, worry, anger, irritability, anxiety, and depression. How exactly do they do this, you may be asking? This is because of the fact that each organ within the body contains a specific set of receptors denoting to each particular hormone that are required to be activated regularly for normal organ function. So it is the precise stimulation of the hormone receptors within a favorable manner which stabilizes mood and leads to normal body function as we know it. That hormonal imbalance that I was speaking of earlier is nothing more than just a lack of stimulation from the particular hormone receptors associated with a particular organ. An example of a prominent hormone within the body is oxytocin, which is often secreted into the bloodstream when we're around others, essentially inducing that feeling of both love and belongingness that we all long for. It is also used to stimulate uterine contractions in both labor and childbirth as well. So basically, overall, the process works like this. An external stimulus of some sort triggers the secretion of a particular hormone into the bloodstream with the intent of it being sent to a particular organ, then contributing to an emotion, feeling, or whatever physiological function is necessary. And this all happens because of the fact that the hormone receptors for the organ were stimulated. So anyway, now that you are aware of the actual neurocircuitry of emotions, I'll now briefly touch upon the spiritual essence of emotions. So, there is presumed to be various energy centers contained within the configuration of the body, also known as chakras. There are 7 prominent centers within the body that work together interconnectedly, in which from the base up lies the root chakra, the sacral chakra, the solar plexus chakra, the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, as well as the crown chakra. The activation and alignment of each particular center will contribute to an influx of positive emotions, whereas the antithetical will do the exact opposite. When your chakras are out of balance, it is believed to be caused by stagnant energy that was unable to pass through each particular center efficaciously. Think of it like this. In order to align each of your individual chakras as a whole, you have to activate each of the energy centers from the base, all the way to the top of your head in a linear or a continuous motion. You have to internally push the cerebrospinal fluid upon the configuration of your spine with the intent of it reaching your brain to free the trapped energy within these centers. Your chakras being out of balance is simply nothing more than the energy caused by a center's activation being stagnant. It is stuck within a particular energy center, causing it to be unable to align each energy center with one another, in which the alignment would then form a state of equilibrium within the body, homeostasis. In regard to this, each energy center denotes the disparate emotions when either aligned or unaligned. For instance, your root chakra, placed at the base of your spine, deals primarily with one sense of security, physical health, strength, groundedness, survival, and instinct. But when it is out of balance, it denotes to fear, anxiety, hopelessness, grief, and depletion. It also deals with emotions of independence and belonging when balanced. I will now go on and provide you with the details of each energy center in precise order. Your sacral chakra is located towards your lower abdomen and focuses primarily upon creativity, your self-perception, as well as various other emotional and sensual needs, including intimacy, pleasure, and confidence in one's sexuality. When it is out of balance, you will feel lonely, a lack of creativity/divergent thinking, anger, resentment, low sexual energy, aka libido, guilt, as well as self-conscious or a negative self-perception. The next chakra in line is your solar plexus chakra and is located between your sternum and navel and focuses primarily upon willpower, gut feelings, self-confidence, a general sense of control, integrity, perseverance, trust in one's instincts, self-esteem, a strong sense of identity, and an increased ability to take action. When it is out of balance, you will have a low self-esteem, lack of empathy, aka apathy. You will procrastinate more often. You will experience digestive issues as well as a loss of being in control. Your next chakra is your heart chakra, which is located exactly where you may think it is. Your heart chakra is placed within the center of your chest. This energy center deals with unconditional love, self-acceptance, forgiveness, empathy, compassion, connection to others plus connection to yourself, and consolidation. When it is unbalanced, you will experience self-pity, self-rejection, uncertainty, neediness, grief, heartache, hopelessness or despondency, sorrow, depression, and a disconnection from both self and others. The next energy center you have is your throat chakra, which is located at the base of your throat, which is also very conspicuous, just as your heart chakra. It deals primarily with your ability to effectively express yourself, to articulate your words, to have fluid communication, to speak the truth, and to be creative. When it is out of balance, you will be unable to express yourself efficaciously. You will be perceived as timid. You will be highly dependent and insecure. You will feel unheard and disregarded, and you will have trouble being honest. Your next energy center is your third eye chakra, and which is located at the center of your forehead. It deals primarily with intuition, psychic abilities, imagination, detachment from physical word, charisma, knowing one's own purpose, wisdom, insight, thoughts, and dreams. When unbalanced, it deals with headaches, loss of focus, judgment, difficulty sleeping, being easily influenced, dubious, aka doubtful, illusion, perplexity, and aimlessness. Your last and final chakra is your crown chakra and is located at the top of your head, aka your crown. It relates to joy, connection to source, aka God, spirituality, higher consciousness, enlightenment, individuality, spiritual development, peace, humanitarianism, wisdom, intuitive knowing, and cosmic energy. When it is unbalanced, it causes worry, depression, psychosis, insanity, inability to have fun, misconceptions, craving attention, ego attachment, as well as overly spiritual or lack of spiritual aspiration. So overall, each energy center deals with different aspects of emotions and offer a differing perspective as to what emotions are and where they come from. They are presumed to be nothing more than simply energy and motion, in which negative emotions are just trapped energy within the body, and which is where many presume pain to derive from as well. So I'm sure this video is already way too long, and I definitely don't want to make it any longer, so I'm just going to stop right there. If you enjoyed this very informative video, please make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and comment down below some more video ideas for future references. See y'all in my next video. Bye.